Hey guys, Bob Gardner here from LiberateAman.com. It's the 21st of December, which means we have 5 days left, and the entire message for the last week has been to prepare you for the radical change that will happen in your life when suddenly you are no longer addicted to anything, let alone porn. And I think it's important to understand that preparation is needed. See, when I was a kid, when we lived in, when I was a teenager, we lived in Bountiful, Utah for a couple years. And at that point in time, we had our house. It was a big old hill in the back of the house, and there was a huge willow tree. I mean, it was enormous. It was bigger than this tree here that we got in our backyard. It was huge, and huge willow tree. And the willow tree had roots that went all the way down, and the house above was the last house before the mountain. And so what had happened was they had dug out the foundation. It was really sandy, and they had just covered the tree. So the tree didn't really exist above ground for a while, but then it kept growing. And so the place where it splits in the trunk was right there in the ground, so you could climb it, which was kind of cool. But in the process, what had happened was willow trees are kind of notorious for sending out little shoots and stuff. And so our entire back hill was covered with willow shoots. And we'd have to go up there frequently, at least a couple times a year, and go and like cut down and snip them. And it was a lot of hard work to go back and cut down all of these willow shoots. And the reason why we had to do that was because, well, the tree was still there. The roots were still there. And all we could see above ground were the little shoots from the tree. It's no different than with any kind of addiction. Here it is. It's above ground. Something happens in your life that you really don't like, and you're trying desperately to go and snip it away. And when I was trying to get free of pornography addiction and masturbation addiction and stuff like that, when I was trying to get free of it, I used to think, look, if I could just cut this thing loose, my life would be better. Backyard's the same. Everything looks good. Like, it would just be clean and clear, and I'd have this beautiful hill to deal with. But the problem is I was only trying to cut it loose from what I could see above ground, which was the addiction part. And I didn't realize that the root of the problem was way below ground. And that if I actually changed it and addressed the root of the issue, more than just that little piece would disappear from my life. My whole life would radically transform. If we had gone up and uprooted that massive willow tree, oh my goodness. The entire backyard would have changed. That willow tree was what was holding the hill together in many ways. And so we would have had to deal with something differently back there in the backyard. On top of that, well, like there would be visibility and sunlight where there wasn't sunlight before. All other types of vegetation might be possible. Maybe we could put gardens in there, but there's more that will change in my life than just these little shoots coming up. Now, addictions like this thorn bush that's like growing all over the place, we keep snipping back all these thorny things because we don't like them. And the reality is, if we get to the root of the problem, so much more is going to change. Here's my question for you. Are you ready for that? I don't think I was ready in the beginning. I didn't even think I knew what was going to happen. But as time wore on, I had to prepare myself for the shift. When I went skydiving, they gave me instructions beforehand. This is how the shoot's going to go. This is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to jump out of the plane. And I could prepare myself mentally for this massive leap out of an airplane at 12,000, whatever feet high in the air. And the same thing has to happen when you're trying to shift your life from any compulsive behavior, any habit that you don't want, any way of thinking that you don't want, and any addiction that you're trying to root out of your life. As soon as you address it, more is going to happen. So my questions for you today, to prepare you for what's going to start happening on the 26th, for you 10 men who are lucky enough to be the first ones to get to go in on this process, the questions that I'm going to have you start thinking about now are two. Okay, because the next process I'm going to tell you about tomorrow has to do with the massive shift. Okay, but the two questions I'm going to have you think about are, one, what is pornography doing in your life? What's the effect that it's having on your life right now? Like, or whatever addiction that it is that you're dealing with. So maybe you're not coming for that reason. What is the effect that it's having on your life right now? And what will change when it's gone? So let me give you an example. You might think, okay, pornography addiction is going to go away, and so then all of a sudden I won't have all of this shame around me. Like, I'll feel good on the inside and I'll feel connected to God or something like that. That was certainly where I was sitting. Well, how are you going to behave when you're no longer filled with shame? Might you be more outspoken? Might you be more willing to share of yourself And what's that going to do to your relationships? And I'm not saying they're not positive changes. Your relationships are going to go all over the place, but it'll cause more tension because you change, and then some of your relationships, people will be like, we don't behave like this. Remember we get together and complain about stuff? All of a sudden you're happy, and I'm not happy, and I'm not really comfortable with that, and you might have to find new friends. And you might have some social agreements that are unspoken that are gonna get a little rocky. How you perform at work is going to shift because you're no longer spending part of your day resisting the urge to go look when you're stressed. You handle stress differently. You might be spending more time doing certain routines that you've always wanted to do, and that's going to affect how you schedule your day. There's so much more that happens when the root is gone and your life actually transforms. I want to prepare you for that. I want to do you the favor and the gift of getting your mind ready for the massive leap that's going to come. What obstacles might you face? What amazing things are going to start to shift? What opportunities might show up? How will you behave differently? How are you going to feel differently on the inside when you engage with things? You need to start thinking about those things now. Message me, comment below, especially if you've dealt with this in the past and it's changed you. Comment below, or send me a message, or reply to an email, or whatever. Just so that you're literally thinking about it and sending it off as a way of like saying, yeah, I've actually considered this thing. Because if you're not prepared for it, then when the time comes, that's going to be an unconscious thing that holds you back from taking the leap to change. And I don't want you to hold yourself back anymore, and neither do you. And so today the message is simple. Prepare yourself for the change because it's going to be epic. It's going to be huge, and you are not going to be able to even imagine now how amazing your life will turn out on the other side of it. But you need to prepare yourself for that kind of change.